Dima Mixon with the Pine Belt News with Glyn Dyar, 247 Sports, back at the Rock. Glyn, we took the week off last week, but the Southern Miss football team definitely didn't take the week off. They were working, getting ready for the next few opponents, as Charles Huff said in the press conference that we were just at. We talked about how they kind of got ahead on their next 4 opponents, and they did some recruiting over the bye week, but now they are in for a West showdown on the road at Jonesboro. And I think, Glyn, 4 or 5 weeks ago, when we kind of looked at the schedule, I don't think really anybody thought that this game would end up being kind of the heights it has been at. Arkansas State starting 1-4, they're winners of 4 straight. Southern Miss, of course, that they're winners of 4 straight as well. This is kind of teetering into a blockbuster showdown in Jonesboro on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, big time. And what's interesting over there is, like you alluded to, they struggled early on, and then they had a bye week. Coach Jones talked about totally reevaluated everything: culture, a scheme, each position, went positionally, and just retool things or tighten things up over that week off, and they've reeled off 4 in a row. And if you look at some of their numbers, like those first 4 or 5 games are 16 points a game. They jumped over that other four games. They jumped almost 30 points a game. Defense cut down almost 70 yards a game on that side of the ball. So significantly better. And like Coach Huff alluded to, they're running into another team that you could say one of the hottest teams in the conference. It seems like they run into one of those every week.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you think of, Georgia Southern. That was a tough road matchup. They went over there, handled business. They, went to Louisiana, who seemed like kind of finding their footing, getting some players back. They went there, handled their business. ULM, they started strong, kind of faltered off at the end there. Southern Miss just kind of handled them. This week, I think, is different, Glyn. I think this week, especially since it's at their place, I think this week is going to present some challenges for Southern Miss that they haven't really had to face before. Not saying that they're not ready for it, of course, but I'm just saying that they're going to have to face some challenges with Jalen Rayner.
Right.
Because I think Jalen Rayner, we came into the start of the season thinking that if you just took a list of all the best quarterbacks in the Sun Belt, of course, Braylon Braxton's probably number 1 on almost everybody's list. JMU's quarterback, he's up there. But Jalen Rayner would be at least in the top 4, if not the top 3.
He's definitely in that conversation.
So I think this is probably the best quarterback they've played outside of Mississippi State. And the way that he can attack both the pass and the legs is really going to be a different style of offense that the Southern Miss defense has played. And I asked Charles Huff, and I said, hey, is it easier kind of scheming for a guy like this when you see Braylon a lot in practice? And he said, no, because we don't have to get Braylon to the ground.
Right.
So I think it's going to be a pretty big challenge for the Southern Miss defense against Jalen Rayner on Saturday.
Yeah, I think this guy, Rayner, since his freshman year, he's been impressive, but I think he's the most complete quarterback they faced to this point. If you look at his numbers are actually a little bit better than Braylon statistically.
They have played one more game. Because Southern Miss had a bye week, but yes.
The biggest component for him is his, they have a run package set for him, power, counter, things of that nature, zone read with him, that Braylon hadn't had to run yet. And he's dangerous, man. He's a better passer than he was a year ago. He's almost 68% completion percentage. Just whatever adjustments they made, I think they slowed things down for him a little bit. He's making great decisions, getting the ball out on time, getting the ball out quick to the right people. And then when it breaks down, his ability to run scary.
He has 6 interceptions on the season. 4 of those came in the 4 losses. So he's really cleaned up, hit the turnover side of the game for them. And like you said, I feel like they've slowed down the offense a lot. You look at kind of his passing numbers in those first 5 weeks when they went 1-4, high passing numbers, not a lot on the run. A lot of that's trimmed down. I think they really took a stop in that bye week and said, listen, we're not going to be able to win that way. We got to win this way. And I think they've really leaned into that. Now, do I think the Southern Miss defense, do I think that Arkansas State has seen anything like this Southern Miss defense, especially in the secondary? Probably not, outside of maybe Iowa State or Arkansas, which obviously is Power 4 teams. I think this is probably the best defense that Arkansas State has had to play, especially over the past 4 weeks when they've won.
Most complete defense.
Yeah, because I think this defense is better than Troy's. I just think it is. So I think that is to Southern Miss's advantage, but it's still going to be a formidable challenge. But on the other side, Glyn, I think this might be one of the better D lines that Southern Miss has had to play in the Sun Belt at least.
Yeah, front 7 for that matter. And they've gotten hot. Last week the numbers could be skewed a little bit. The 9 sacks, 12 tackles for loss. They got Troy on the ropes quick and made them one-dimensional.
Right.
And at that point, you just turn the dogs loose on their quarterback. That's why I was talking to Coach Huff about the importance of being balanced. You need to be balanced every week, but if you're not balanced, then and you get behind the chains and you get behind on the scoreboard, it's obvious what's going to happen to you.
Yeah. Well, I think it was really impressive what Arkansas State was able to do on the road at Troy. I mean, I think they were like 7.5-point underdogs. Now, originally, Glenn, I didn't think Troy was like as good as people were making them out to be. I think they kind of got lucky in a few games. That this quarterback who throwing for like 400 yards, like he's just not gonna be able to do that consistently, right? So I'm not saying that. I'm not taking anything away from Arkansas State, but I just think that like it didn't shock me that they won that game, if that makes sense. But I still think Southern Miss was a big step up from Troy. But even still, you got to give some edge to Arkansas State because they are at home.
Yeah, the home thing's a big thing. But yeah, I think this Southern Miss team, offensively, defensively, and now special teams has come to the forefront. I think this is the most complete football team Arkansas State will face, to this point. I think, Southern just gets better every week. And I thought really interesting what Coach Huff was talking about. They took this bye week I think he's a master, he and his staff, at tweaking things. Yeah. When they have off time, finding things to tweak, finding things to get rid of, finding things to add. And at some point in the season, when Braylon was at Marshall, he was part of that run scheme, with a zone read, counter and power. He hadn't had to do that here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an ace in the hole. At some point during the season, Coach Huss and Blake Anderson is going to roll that out for him. Is it this week? I don't know. But at some point, that's going to happen. It's nice to have that ace in your hole.
Yeah, and I think Charles Huff knows he has it too, because when Glyn asked him that, he was kind of like, we haven't run it yet.
Yeah.
And so it's like they're kind of holding it back, and you're in what is this, week 10, week 11?
Yeah,
I don't know where
it's coming.
But like you think that if you're going to roll it out at any time, it'd be soon. And on the road where, who do you trust more on this Southern Miss team other than Braylon Braxton? Because I do think it's going to be a close game. I don't think Arkansas State hasn't been rolled by anybody other than Arkansas, who, they're a flaming hot pile of garbage, but
tell me
they're
what you really mean.
Arkansas is terrible, but they're a Power 4 team, and that was different because it was week 2. That's a part of the story. The point is that Arkansas State just doesn't get rolled. So this is not going to be a game. I don't think the Southern Miss is just going to go in there and win by 3 or 4 scores.
No.
Is the point. So you're going to need your best players to make big plays and big moments. And who do you trust more on this team other than Braylon Braxton?
Right. I thought it was interesting when he said, "Not yet."
Yeah.
And it also
he kind of smiled a little bit.
It also means we hadn't had to.
Yeah.
So nobody's forced him to have to do that yet.
Yeah,
but that's in his playbook when he needs it. For me, I'd rather not get the licks on Braylon, but at some point, that's a great strength of his, and you roll it out when you need it. And so far, they hadn't needed it, but look out for it; it's coming at some point. His legs are going to be a bigger deal and a bigger part of the run game for Southern Miss.
As far as the run game, Coach Huff did say that Jeffrey Pickman should be back on Saturday, which is really good for the run game. I think they looked fine without him against ULM, against a pretty good front.
I think their best running back in terms of a skill set is the freshman Jalen Carter.
Yeah,
now,
he's really good.
Is he ready for that pressure? Is he really ready for 15 to 20 carries? I don't know.
And I don't think Huff wants to do that. I think he wants it to be running back by committee. He's talked a lot about pitch count and making sure everybody's pitch count is low or equal. And so I don't think he wants it to be an RB1 scenario. And he's proven that all season. So, but it is big that now that they have Pittman back, that they can.
But the question is, every time he's on the field, he shows you something. He makes you go, So at what point, who loses carries to this kid? You're right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting for sure, and it should be a great game. Again, Southern Miss 4-0 in the Sun Belt. Arkansas State over there at 3-1. If Arkansas State beats Southern Miss on Saturday, they would have tiebreakers over both Troy and Southern Miss. Yep. So it's a really big game for them. Southern Miss, they can afford to lose this game and still make the Sun Belt Championship game. They would need Arkansas State to lose, of course, but they still would control their, not necessarily, they would need Arkansas State to lose, but it's a big game. And if Southern Miss could win this game, they are firmly in control of the West Division.
You want to control your own destiny for sure.
Yeah, and I think at this point, Southern Miss is to lose. The line opened at about 6. Southern Miss favored by 6. It's come all the way down to 4.5. So we'll see that line move throughout the week. We'll be back on the Thursday show to give you our picks and our bold predictions, and we'll see where that line has moved.
One last point I want to make. Obviously, they played a physical game last Saturday. We did not. I'm curious to see when that injury report comes out Wednesday night around 8 or 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
what that looks like, because Southern Miss is 100% across the board.
Yeah, that's an interesting
And
aspect.
Butch Jones in his last post-game interview alluded to the fact that, that we have a few guys down and we're a little beat up. I want to see what that looks like on paper.
Yeah, it should be interesting. And I will say the last time Southern Miss came off a bye, the first half of that Georgia Southern game was probably the most dominant I've ever seen a Southern Miss football team look. And,
Yeah, amen.
and I've been here I've watched Southern Miss, and you've watched Southern Miss a lot longer than me, but I've seen Southern Miss since like 05.
Yeah, there were dinosaurs in Hattiesburg when I started watching.
Right. We'll be back on the Thursday show. That's Glyn Dyar on 247 Sports. I'm Dima Mixon for Pineville News. Thank you always for watching. Subscribe. If you want to see more, go follow his coverage at 247 Sports. You can always read my whole writing at the Pineville News Hub City Spokes. We'll see you on Thursday for our pick show and bold predictions.